Have you ever stared at a totally messy fraction under an integral sign? Maybe it's got a square root, some squared variables hanging around, and felt your mind just completely go blank? You look at it and you absolutely know the standard power rules aren't going to work, and basic substitution is just leading you down a dead end. Well, look, you're definitely not alone. This is exactly where a lot of calculus students hit a massive wall. But today, we're going to break that wall down.
Seriously, have you ever frozen up looking at a scary integral exactly like this one? Like the integral of dx over the square root of 1 minus x squared? It looks intimidating, right? Well, by the end of this explainer, not only are you going to understand exactly how to solve problems just like this, but you'll really grasp the core formulas behind them. You'll literally be able to quickly reshape almost any complex variation into a super simple solvable form using U substitution. Let's just jump right into it.
All right, here are your three new best friends. We've got the three core integration formulas that result in inverse trigonometric functions. We're talking inverse sine, inverse tangent, and inverse secant. Now, I want you to really notice the shapes of these formulas. Think of them as fundamental molds. Whenever you see an integral with a constant squared minus a variable squared tucked under a root, you are looking at the inverse sine mold. If it's a constant squared plus a variable squared, and hey, no root this time, that's your inverse tangent mold. This actually brilliantly illustrates the real secret to these problems. It's all about pattern recognition. You just got to match your specific problem to the right mold.
Now you might be wondering, okay, but why does this actually work? Because we definitely don't just blindly memorize rules here. Let's actually prove the inverse sine formula together so you can trust the math. First, let's just start by letting y equal the inverse sine of x over a. If we arrange that, it gives us a times the sine of y equals x. Okay, moving to the next step, let's use implicit differentiation. Taking the derivative of both sides with respect to x gives us a times the cosine of y times dy dx equals 1. If we go ahead and solve for dy dx, we get 1 over a times cosine y. But wait, we need this in terms of x. So we bring in our classic Pythagorean identity. Cosine y is just the square root of 1 minus sine squared y. Substitute that back in, do a little bit of algebra, and boom! We get exactly our starting integrand, 1 over the square root of a squared minus x squared. The logic just perfectly circles back.
Let's actually connect this to real life for a second, so it's a bit easier to visualize. Think of these formulas as manufacturing molds in a giant factory. We have a clean, perfectly shaped formula mold for inverse sine. But out in the real world, problems don't look that perfect. We usually encounter raw, unshaped metal, what I call a messy integral, like the integral of dx over the square root of 4 minus 9x squared. Our job is to use a mathematical furnace, which is U substitution, to melt that messy problem down and pour it perfectly into our formula mold. Once it fits the mold perfectly, the answer literally just pops right out.
Let's make this totally concrete with an example. Let's solve that exact messy problem we just looked at. Step 1, we've got our original integral. Step 2, and this is absolutely the most crucial part, we have to identify our pieces. Looking at the denominator, our constant term a squared is 4, which means a is 2. Our variable term u squared is 9x squared, meaning u is 3x. Okay, step 3, let's find our derivative. The derivative of u is 3 dx. Now, since we only have a dx sitting up in our numerator, we just move that 3 over to the other side, giving us 1/3 du equals dx. Step 4, we substitute. And just look at how beautifully that messy integral transforms. It's now 1/3 times the integral of du over the square root of 4 minus u squared. It perfectly fits the mold. So for step 5, we just apply the inverse sine formula, plug our x values back in, and we get our final answer, 1/3 inverse sine of 3x over 2 plus c.
Wait, actually, this is super important. I want to pause right here for a really common student question. What if the integrand isn't a positive fraction? What if it's a -1? We just learned 3 formulas for sine, tangent, and secant. So does that mean we need to memorize 3 times more entirely new formulas for inverse cosine, inverse cotangent, and inverse cosecant?
Well, the answer is brilliantly simple. No way. You absolutely do not. The other 3 inverse trig functions are basically just negative versions of the ones we literally just covered. So if you see a negative sign hanging out up in your numerator, don't panic. And definitely don't try to remember some obscure new rule. Just grab that -1 and factor it right out to the front of the integral. Then you just evaluate it using the exact same sine, tangent, or secant formulas you already know. Remember, this is all about working smarter, not harder.
Okay, now here is a massive trap I see students fall into constantly. Major common mistake alert here. Look really closely at those formulas again. The inverse tangent and inverse secant formulas both have a 1 over a multiplier sitting right out in front of them. The inverse sine formula does not. I'm going to repeat that because it's that important. Inverse sine does not have the 1 over a in front. So if your a value is 2 and you're using tangent, your answer is going to start with a 1/2. If you're using sine, it doesn't. You've really ought to burn this rule into your memory.
All right, now that we understand the basic idea and we know what pitfalls to avoid, let's move to something just a bit more advanced. Let's evaluate a definite integral together. Here we're integrating 1 over 1 plus x squared from root 3 over 3 all the way up to root 3. Step 2 is our pattern recognition again. I see no square root and there's a plus sign in the middle. Yep, that is definitely our inverse tangent mold. Here, a is just 1 and u is simply x. Super easy. So the antiderivative is just the inverse tangent of x. Step 3, we apply our limits of integration using the fundamental theorem of calculus. So, plug in the top bound minus the bottom bound. Step 4, we just evaluate the trig. Inverse tangent of root 3 is pi over 3, inverse tangent of root 3 over 3 is pi over 6. Subtract the 2, and our final nice and clean answer is pi over 6.
Before we wrap this up, let's quickly summarize the key takeaways from this explainer. First off, pattern recognition is literally everything. Match your messy integral to the correct formula shape, whether that's sine, tangent, or secant. Second, explicitly write down what your a and u term are. Seriously, don't just do it in your head. Third, use u substitution to reshape the problem so it fits the mold perfectly. And finally, do yourself a favor and save your brain space. Just factor out negative signs instead of trying to memorize 3 extra formulas.
So, the big takeaway here is that these scary-looking integrals are actually totally manageable once you know the molds. I'm going to leave you with a final challenge straight from the textbook exercises. Can you find the indefinite integral for dx over the square root of 9 minus x squared? Grab a piece of paper, find your a, find your u, and just give it a shot. We'll be walking through the step-by-step solution to this exact problem and tackling some even more complex u substitutions in our next